Madrosed! Welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest today is Evil Zank 44. Woo! Thanks so much for your support. You're so awesome to us. And I gotta say, guys, I'm running out of house guests of the day here. I got one for tomorrow, and then it's just like, whoa, I stepped off of a cliff and nobody caught me. So if you guys want to be house guests of the day, there are plenty of spots open, like from the day after tomorrow till the end of the season. So check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla, so check it out. Alright, so they had nominations yesterday, and Nicole decided to put up Paul and Michelle on the block. So Michelle is a target. Who would have expected it? What? I never thought that these would be Nicole's nominations, but if you're confused right now, you should definitely check out yesterday's spoiler where I explain everything that led up to this. Alright, so after the feeds come back after nominations, we just see Michelle trying to count everything in the house. So she's like, there's this many windows, there's this many airplanes, there's this many cars, there's this many chairs. She's studying her butt off for the Power Veto competition, because you never know what it could be. I feel like they haven't had a lot of competitions like that lately in the last few seasons where you have to like know how many of everything there are, or like when they like take things away. I don't know, whatever. But I think it's interesting to note she was not crying, so good for you, Michelle. Alright, so James is telling her, like, don't worry, Paul's the target this week, it's not you. We know that that's not true. Michelle is the target, but James doesn't know that. He's not lying. He's just misinformed this week. So he's telling Michelle, if Paul wins the veto, you know, he'll use it on himself, Victor will go up in his place, and we'll get rid of him. If Victor wins the veto, you know, that would suck because he might use it on Paul, but Corey got the America's Care package this week, so he could potentially use his bribe to keep Victor from saving Paul. And they both agree, like, oh yeah, I think there's a good chance that Victor would take the money and not use the veto on Paul. James is way out of the loop right now, you guys. And when you're that far out of the loop, it's not looking good for you. So as they were talking, Nicole walked into the have-not room because she was going to comfort Michelle, and she saw that James was in there, and she was just like, ugh. So she reports back to Corey that James and Michelle were in the have-not room together, scheming up a storm. So she's worried that they know now that Michelle is the target, because Nicole just assumes that, like, everybody knows what she's up to. You know, she's worried, so she's panicking a little bit. So then, last night, there was something new for Natalie to freak out about. So Natalie was making Jell-O for everybody on the stove, and by accident she started this small fire, but it went out immediately. It was not a big deal. She was just like, sorry, and she was saying that she almost killed everyone and she can never cook in the house again. If like somebody had gotten hurt, she would have been taken off of the show and it would have been awful. So then she's saying, like, my eyebrows could have burned off, and my hair could have caught on fire, and Paul's beard could have caught on fire, and it was right by our eyes, and oh my god, everybody was just like, girl, chill, none of that actually happened, like, it's fine, it's not a big deal, just relax. But she was going on and on and on about it, oh my god. So, Paul, Nicole, and Corey were strategizing in the HOH room. Nicole is telling the guys how she walked in on James and Michelle scheming. She's like, one of us needs to win the Power of Veto. We need to split up that group of 3 because it's dangerous right now. So ideally, they would like for Victor to win the Power of Veto so then he can use it on Paul and he won't be eligible to be the replacement nominee. Because Nicole, it's going to look kind of weird if Paul comes down and she doesn't put Victor up on the block, right? It's going to look weird to James, Natalie, and Michelle. So she's trying to burn as few bridges as possible. There goes our director. So Paul is like, all right, well, if I win the veto, like, what should I do with it? Like, what do you want? So they're like, oh, you can totally use it on yourself. That should be a no-brainer. You shouldn't have to ask them. Come on. What? That would be really effed up if they were like, don't use it on yourself. But no, they were saying, use it. It's totally cool. So Paul leaves the room, and Nicole and Corey are talking, and they're realizing they're going to have to pick a side this week. It's, you know, the line is going to be drawn in the sand. They need to figure out what they're doing. So they're going through the pros and cons. You know, should we work with James and Natalie, or should we move forward with Paul and Victor? So they're saying James and Natalie, they feel are a lot easier to beat in competitions, and I would definitely agree with that. However, they like Paul and Victor better. They have fun with them. They feel like they can trust them. They're feeling lately like James and Natalie are really shady, and they don't like that. So then Corey was saying, like, I would shoot myself if Natalie won the game. That's kind of mean. He was also saying he'd be cool with either of the guys winning, Paul or Victor. So if it's not going to be one of them winning, he wants to be one of those guys. I just think it was really mean. But anyway, I feel like a lot of people would be really upset if Corey won. So I'm just saying, like, pot calling the kettle black or whatever. So then Natalie and Michelle were chatting downstairs, and Natalie keeps telling Michelle, they had the same conversation all night. She kept telling Michelle, you're not going home this week. It's going to be fine. And she is so confident that Michelle is not going. She's like, Michelle, if you won the power of veto, hypothetically, and Corey bribed you with his care package, $5,000, whatever, would you agree to not use the veto on yourself and take the $5,000? Michelle was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, because, like, if Nicole wanted me out, she could totally get Corey and Victor to vote me out, and then she would be the tiebreaker. I think Natalie and James were both confused about how many people were voting this week, because James seemed to think that he was like the swing vote again. He was like, I'm not gonna let Michelle go home. No way. It's not up to you. So then James and Natalie were strategizing in the London room, and he's saying, we need to win the veto. We need to lock up these nominations. They're both thinking, again, Michelle's going to be safe this week, and they want her to be safe because they want her around to win all the mental competitions for her, because they're like, for them, they're saying, let's face it, we're not really good at those. We could maybe hold our own in the physical competitions, but the mental ones, not so much. So then they're saying, obviously they want to get rid of Paul this week, but if Paul wins the veto and Victor goes up, it wouldn't be the end of the world. They could get rid of Victor for good this time. Could you, though? So then Nicole and Corey later that night decided they're going to drink her wine from her HOH basket, have a good time, just in case Corey's a have-not this week, because that was the last night before they announced have-nots, and they didn't know how it was going to be determined yet. Also, James got to eat again at midnight last night. Victor was already done with his have-nots because he was evicted, and when he came back, they were like, all right, fine, you can eat. So anyway, they decide that they're going to split this bottle of wine without offering it to anyone else. I mean, it is her wine, but it's a little shady. I don't know. So anyway, Victor busts in while they're hanging out, and he's like, yeah, let's party. I want to join in. So he goes downstairs to Michelle, asks if he can have some of her wine from her HOH basket from last week. She still has it. And she's just like, yeah, I guess. Just like save a little bit for me. Don't drink the whole thing. And do not let Paul have any of it. Oh my God. So he's just like, okay. So Victor goes back up to the HOH. He drank like a lot of that bottle. I mean, he was getting a little toasty last night, as were Corey and Nicole. So they're all having a good time. They're saying like the three downstairs are crapping their freaking diapers. They're freaking out. They're having a great time upstairs. Then Paul comes up and he's like, I smell alcohol. Like, he doesn't want to drink it. He's saying, y'all fools, we got a freaking power veto competition tomorrow that we gotta win, so like, don't be going all ham on this wine. So then they were all just like hanging out up there, the four of them, and honestly, like, I guess I like this alliance strategically because I'm rooting for Paul and Victor, but they are so annoying together. I'm sorry, the four of them, oh my God, the three guys are like freaking broing down, telling all these ridiculous stories. Nicole's just like, I love guys. And then, I don't know, I mean, classic line from last night. Paul was all, have I told you guys my Prague stories yet? Yes, we freaking heard them all. Stop it. Okay, so then back downstairs, Natalie again is trying to reassure Michelle that she's safe this week. Michelle's just freaking upset that she wasn't invited to hang out upstairs. That's not making her feel good about her situation right now. She's like, wow, I'm on the outs, aren't I? So Natalie is saying, who freaking cares? Paul or Victor will be leaving this week. It's fine. And Michelle's like, I don't know about that. I think that I'm probably the target. Yes. But Natalie's saying, no way. There's no way that Nicole would choose to leave two strong competitors like Paul and Victor in the game. Like, I'm sorry, no offense, but like, it would be a waste of an HOH to take you out. It's basically what she said, but of course, no offense. And then James joins them, and, you know, they talk about this a little bit more, like, oh, Nicole loves us, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. So then they're talking about, like, who flirted with who, how things were in the beginning. This person pinched my butt. This person touched my butt. This person touched my thigh. Oh my gosh! And Natalie still wants to know who the hell took her underwear out of her Ziploc bag during the Hide the Veto competition and threw it around. Like, she needs to get to the bottom of this. No pun intended. And, like, she wants to know. We need to review those tapes. Anyway, this morning, it was time for the have-not reveal, and we find out that the two have-nots this week are the first two out of the HOH competition, which means it's Corey and Victor. Oof, 2 weeks in a row for Victor. And their special food to go along with the slop is seaweed and squid. So the whole house must have really stunk because everybody was super grossed out, and they were just like, oh my god, it smells so bad. So they were freaking out about that. And I think it was Paul and Natalie who were finally like, fine, we'll clean it up. Because you know how they leave that like huge display on the table? All that freaking squid was like wasted. And I don't even eat meat, but like those squid had to die so you could just like display them and throw them out. It just like seems really wrong. But anyway, Nicole's upset that she's going to be alone in the HOH room this week. No Corey up there for their fantasy suite. And Corey, he just does not want to be a have-not again. I think this might be like his 4th time. So he was thinking like, maybe I can ask the diary room if I can bribe somebody else with my care package to be the have-not in my place. So Paul immediately volunteers. Corey did end up asking the diary room, and I think they were like, we'll get back to you. I'm not sure what their answer was on that yet. But anyway, a little while later, it was time for the Power Veto player draw. Everybody's competing this week except for Natalie, which means that she's the host. But I think it's important here to note like how this all went down. So Nicole drew Victor's name. Michelle got James. Well, sorry. Paul got Houseguest Choice. And he ended up picking Corey. We'll come back to that. And Michelle picked out James. So Michelle, Natalie, and James were all chatting, and Michelle's really weirded out that Paul picked Corey to play this week. She was like, since when are they friends? Like, what's going on here? Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he pick, like, Natalie or something? Hello? You guys freaking turned against Paul and Victor last week. Did you forget why that happened? I don't understand why they're like, why did Paul and Victor, like, stop hanging out with us? Really? But anyway, James is like, maybe it's because I'm the real target this week. They've got some sort of plan. They're going to put me up as the replacement. And the girls are like, no, Nicole wouldn't put you up. She loves you. She loves you. So then Michelle's like, well, what if like the 4 of them, Nicole, Corey, Paul, and Victor, are all working together? Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. So they're like, nah. So then they're talking about America's favorite player. And James is he says he's pretty much banking on winning it this season. He feels really good about it. It feels like it's a guarantee that he's at least going to be in the top 3, but he thinks he's got this locked up. Alright, so the final 4 alliance, that's in air quotes because that's their actual name, were meeting in the HOH room, and Paul was telling them how Natalie asked why he didn't pick her to play in the competition, and he's like, yeah, I told her that she's better at competitions than Corey, so like I didn't want her playing because then if she won, she would use it on Michelle. So he was laughing about how he said that Natalie's better at comps than Corey, but like honestly they both suck, so it's not that funny. But anyway, Nicole's really happy with the Power Veto draw because in her mind the worst case scenario would be Natalie winning the veto, using it on Michelle, and then she would have to put up James, and she doesn't want to do that if she doesn't have to. So she's like, we're good as long as Michelle doesn't win. Like, even if James wins, she feels like she can say, hey, Jamesy, if you use that veto on Michelle, Natalie's going up in her place. So she feels like they're good. Alright, so then today, I mean, there was a lot of hanging out. There was some studying for the POV competition because they didn't know what it was going to be. And then it was finally time to compete. So the feeds came back after the competition. Everybody was dressed up like friggin' elves. And apparently it was the stay or fold competition. So that's fun. And the winner was Nicole. So she went 2 for 2 this week. And I'm thinking she's not going to use the veto. I think she's going to leave Paul up there. And they're going to get rid of Michelle this week. So, I mean, you never know what could happen. We're days away from the eviction. But that's what it's looking like right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of this Corey, Nicole, Paul, Victor alliance? Let me know. And until tomorrow, much love.